Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we will be reacting to episode 4 of Symphogear. So this has been a really interesting series so far. It's given me a lot of questions, and some of them have been answered, or at least given enough clue towards, while other things are still kind of up in the air. Um, and I'm definitely interested to see where it goes. This is pretty unique compared to other stuff I've reacted to, and I think that's fair. I think that's fine. It's something definitely different from the channel. I'm not 100% sold on it yet, though. Like, I'm definitely interested in what we've been given, but I feel like I'm not quite yet 100% sold on it. The characters, the story, everything, I feel like there's gotta be some big, I guess you could say, turning point where it all starts to click together. But right now, it's still, I feel like, to put it simply, I feel like we're still in the prologue in a way. Like, this is still just the beginning. And I don't know what that's going to mean. I don't know what that's going to end up meaning for this series. Now, as I go through this, and as I continue to find out what this is going to kind of evolve into and through, I just want to let you know I'm going to be continuing to theory craft about it. I'm going to continue to be thinking about it and putting forth my thoughts, and sometimes they may not vibe with yours. Some things I say might be based on like my own viewing experience, and because of that may not be exactly what you think about this series or the characters or whatnot. And on top of that, I might not always catch everything. Keep that in mind too. So if there's anything that I miss, please feel free to tell me. As long as it's not a spoiler for the future, as long as it is just something I missed in that episode. Feel free to tell me. I completely acknowledge, as a reactor, there's going to be things I miss. Because I'm putting on a reaction. I'm trying to talk to you guys and everything as well. Because of that, I might miss something. It just happens. There also might be something I just don't quite get. And it's because it's my experience. This isn't the kind of show I normally watch or react to. So there are certain things that just may not like click with me right away compared to people who watch these kind of shows normally. Things that may just not really, I guess, make sense compared to the kinds of shows I do normally watch. Things that would just be kind of out of place in those kind of shows. You know what I mean? So be patient with me. Is what I'm asking here. Just try to be patient with me and understand that I'm going through this for the first time. I don't normally watch these kind of shows. And this is going to be a different experience for me than it was for any of you. Especially with me reacting to it, instead of just watching it on my own. So, just try to keep that in mind, please. Um, I'm trying to pay attention to everything I can. I'm trying to like get everything I can, but I can only do that so much. So last time we got more angst from Tsubasa, and rightly so, and we find out more about her thoughts and feelings after the events of, was it 2 years ago? Where, you know, the incident happened. We also find out in the last episode that these noise attacks are extremely rare, and they're not even like very common like elsewhere. That these localized attacks recently in this one part of Japan, this is actually really unusual. And that actually, as I said last time, helped relieve a big issue I had with the series. And that was the. Excuse me. That was the big question about, like, if these attacks are happening, how are people surviving if Japan's the only one with these Symphogears? But if these attacks are as rare as they are, and it's not a normal thing, then that helps at least give some level of explanation to it. It doesn't like fully answer, but you can kind of put the pieces together yourself. I feel like there's still questions hanging over my head, though. And I still feel that not everything quite makes sense. And I'm not one of those people who can just like shut off my brain and just enjoy a show. I'm not. I can't do that. And I don't know if it's because of my autism or whatnot, but if I see something that just doesn't make sense to me, or just bothers me in that sense, I can't just shut my brain off and say like, oh, it's just you just have to enjoy it. You don't have to worry about every little detail. It's like, no, my mind automatically does that without me telling it to. I can't just help that, unfortunately. I wish I could, but my mind doesn't work like that. And it sucks. I watch things for entertainment, but I can't just, again, shut my brain off and enjoy something for the sake of enjoying it without also like looking at something like critically as I'm watching it. And don't get me wrong, it's like I'm not going to like be like judging every little thing while watching. I'm not going to be like over analyzing every little second of the film. But if something doesn't make sense to me, I'm not going to just be able to turn that off and ignore that just because the movie's entertaining otherwise, or the series, or whatever else. If something doesn't make sense to me, it's going to bother me. It's not something I can just ignore. So I apologize. I do. If maybe my questioning of everything is a little annoying. I apologize if me questioning everything comes across as me not enjoying it, or me just being like overly critical. It's not me trying to like just rip at this show's throat and try to find anything I can to dislike about it. No. It's just that's how my mind works. I've criticized plenty of shows that I love, too. I mean, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I guess you could say, is a semi-recent example with my criticisms of the second batch of episodes. And it's like I love JoJo, but that second batch was not good, of Stone Ocean specifically. Um, and there's other examples. It's like no show is perfect. There are shows that I think have gotten close, but none are actually perfect. And every show has some mistakes to some degree. Even like some of my favorite shows, like One Piece or The Legend of Korra or Carol on Tuesday, they're not perfect. So don't, if I'm criticizing someone or something in a show, don't take it to mean that I dislike the show, or if I'm being critical because again that's how my mind works and that I'm just seeing things that just don't make sense to me or whatnot. That doesn't mean I'm hating on the show. Keep that in mind. I'm actually still enjoying this right now. But as I said, I don't know where it's going at the moment, so I'm not sure on the overall picture yet. Um, it's just this is how my mind works, and this is how I talk through it and everything for reactions. Um, so I just wanted to let you guys all know that. Hope you understand. And I hope you understand. I'm not just trying to, like, again, find anything wrong with this series to, like, pick on it or anything. Because, again, I am still very much enjoying it. I just have some issues here and there right now. And I'm hoping that those get resolved. Like some already have. So I do apologize if, like, I may have been coming off as a little overly critical of this series. It was not intentional. It was not intentional for me to come across that way. And I apologize if I did. But either way, I'm definitely interested to see where we're going this time, because after we found out more about Tsubasa's angst and found out more about, like, the rarity of these attacks, our duo was attacked by some Digimon ass motherfucker. And I'm sorry, but the design is like I still can't even think of it. Like I don't even know how to look it up, but it reminds me of a very specific Digimon, and I can't think of it for the life of me. There are quite a few humanoid Digimon who even have, like, a very sexy demeanor to them. And I can't think of which one it specifically is that this reminds me of. Like I said last time, it's obviously not Angelomon, or anyone like that. It's not Lilymon. But there are others like that. I can't think of which one it is. But it's the instant I saw this person, it's just instantly what I thought of. And that's not an insult, by the way. I mean, I grew up with Digimon. I love Digimon. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a Piomon right up here. Here, I probably showed it a little better. See? Piomon. Ooh, careful. I also have a Metal Greymon somewhere up there, too. But yeah, it's like, that's not an insult. I'm just saying, it reminds me of that. I'm wondering what the real truth, though, is. Because it's like, there's only supposed to be 2 Symphogears, right? So, yeah, I'm curious as to what this is going to be about. I guess we'll see. I assume that's going to be explained pretty quickly in this episode. So let's just get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and, oh my god, my mind blanked. pause the redirect and go to the description below. I don't know why my mind blanked there. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in. Everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. And she did it nicely, mind you. Like, she didn't, like, call her out in a mean or aggressive way. It's just, she did call her out. She very much understands that Hibiki is hiding shit from her and is lying to her about shit. And again, I kind of posed this theory before, but I think that the entire grave thing in the first episode, I think that Hibiki's going to end up faking her death in order to protect Miku. That she's going to have to fake her death and just to make sure that Miku stays safe and away from all of this. Which obviously would be an exceptionally tragic and difficult decision for her. But it's something I could see Hibiki doing. Like, her entire goal in all of this is what Tsubasa's should be as well. As I said in the reaction, their goal should be to protect people. To save people. Not just the people they love, but anyone. That their goal should be, you know, to basically be heroes. Not for the accolades and the attention, because they're not trying to get attention. They're keeping it secret. But for the purpose of being heroic, of helping people. And so I fully see Hibiki doing something like that, especially for the sake of someone like Miku, who she very clearly cares greatly about. It's going to be interesting to see if that is where this goes. Otherwise, I have no idea what the... I still wouldn't know what the that flash forward in episode 1 meant if it's not that. But either way, so this episode, we start off with the battle that was kind of set up last time with this mysterious person coming forth wielding the armor from that they were trying to awaken that was stolen in the 2 years ago flashback at the concert. We don't know who this person is, and we don't know why she stole the armor, and we also don't know why it took her 2 years to reveal herself. But with the revelation that she can summon the noise, I think we have to kind of assume that she summoned them 2 years ago. That the attack on the concert was her doing, and it was all to gain this armor. But how did she summon the noise without the armor? Is there some other kind of device that can do that? Or is she working with someone who also has that ability? There's a lot of questions. And even though I feel like this is hinting that she was behind that, I don't know how she could have been if she didn't have that ability. It raises a lot of questions. And again, the theory was already that someone was using the noise, like, to attack them. So there's got to be another way to do it then, right? I don't know. I just don't know. But either way, we find out that her goal in coming there was to capture Hibiki. We don't know why, but that was definitely her purpose there. She came to capture Hibiki and failed because Tsubasa used her superb song, I believe it was called, which is basically an end-all be-all ultimate attack. It's a last resort move, and it basically is all but confirmed to kill the user. It it basically uses the full power of the Symphogear while removing all constraints. So it just uses full power without taking into effect how it will affect the user. And because the Symphogear is, physically bonded to the user, using that much intense power would kill them. Luckily, Tsubasa is able to survive because she's got main character powers and a good medical team. And that's kind of main character powers in and of itself. But yeah, she was able to survive just kind of barely. The medical team got her in time and were able to keep her alive. But she is in extremely bad condition. Pretty much the worst condition you can think of. But it shows her resolve in how truly fucked up she is. And I mean that as in trauma. This girl is so absolutely traumatized by what happened 2 years ago, by Kanade's death, that she is, like I said in the reaction, not just willing to die, but almost feels like it's her duty to. And not even almost, does feel like it's her duty to. All she sees herself as is a weapon to fight the noise, and she feels that when she dies, it has to be fighting the noise. So she is fully going to be willing to give up her life for that. She has no issue using the superb song. She has no qualms about it at all. To her, it's just inevitable. And that's really sad and really fucked up, because it's clearly wrong. That's clearly not okay. She shouldn't feel like this, and it's not healthy for anyone for her to do so. And Hibiki very much realizes this. Hibiki clearly understands that Tsubasa needs someone. That the loss of Kanade was so traumatizing to her that it left her with so much PTSD that it's not just that she undervalues herself, she doesn't value herself at all. She has no sense of self-preservation. She doesn't want to live. Because in her eyes, she has nothing to live for. And as someone who has been suicidal, I do understand that feeling. As someone who has gone through depression, as someone who has suffered trauma, I understand what it's like to be in that mindset where you just do not give a shit about your life. Where you would rather be dead, and it would just be kind of a relief, a pressure off your back if you could just end it all. And I even know the idea of putting everything into the one thing you have because of that. Because I definitely would sink myself into doing reactions and stuff back at the height of my depression. I would sink myself further into the stuff that could, to some degree, make me happy. That to some degree I just knew. And because I knew it felt comforting in a way. it was something, it was the only thing I really had. And I feel like it's the same for Tsubasa here, but she has the added bonus of the fact that she feels responsible for Kanade's death. She feels that she was not strong enough. And that's why Kanade had to use the superb song and died in her arms. So her only goal has become to become strong. To be the sword rather than the person wielding it. And it's an extremely toxic and terrible mentality to have. And it's a very real one. And it's terrible. And it sucks. And again, I've felt this kind of shit. I understand what this kind of pain feels like. And how hard it can be to come out of it. Like, even when I started to come out of it, even when I started to feel relief from it, it wasn't instantaneous. It took time. And honestly, it took effort. I had to actually try to fight it. And that's definitely one thing Tsubasa's not doing right now. She's not even pretending to try to fight this. She's doing everything in her power to lean into it, really. And I think Hibiki's going to change that. Hibiki is going to be kind of the godsend that Tsubasa needs. And even though she doesn't like Hibiki right now, because Hibiki has Gungnir, I feel like that's going to change. I don't know how long it's going to take. It might be by the end of the season. It might not be until like a future season. I don't know. But that's definitely where it's going. And that's also definitely why I knew Tsubasa wouldn't die in this, because she has a character arc that is clearly set up for her. She's not going to die in episode 4. But the fact that she got that close, it still says a lot. So we don't know who this mysterious user is, but she retreated. And so we're definitely going to see her again. In fact, I would probably bet that she's going to be kind of the thorough line of this season. And that by the finale, we're going to find out pretty much everything about her. We're going to find out exactly who she is and what's going on. But with all of this that has happened, with Hibiki seeing the misguided resolve that Tsubasa has, she's decided she has to become stronger too, but for the right reasons. For the sake of protecting Tsubasa and others that she cares about, such as Miku. She wants to, be someone who can be there for others. And that's very admirable. And in order to do so, she needs to train. So she goes to our commander here, our big guy, whose name I can never remember, Tsubasa's uncle. And she asks him to train her, and even is basically excited over the fact that he says, my training is very harsh, And she's like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. Let's watch Bruce Lee movies and train in Street Fighter gear. It's like, that felt like a needless couple of references, but I love it at the same time. It's like, okay, we're gonna go there. We're just gonna make a really random Street Fighter reference out of this. And just kind of randomly reference Bruce Lee as well. It works. It genuinely works. But it's still random. But I love it. It's great. So we got that kind of set in place. She's training with him now. She's going to get her physical abilities up. She's even training her voice, it seems, which I don't know if she needs to do. because it's like if these songs come from the heart because of the Symphogear, does it matter whether or not she has a good singing voice, or whether or how strong her singing voice is, or whatnot? Like, does that come into play? I genuinely don't know. Maybe it does, and maybe I just, it hasn't been properly explained yet. Um, there's a lot of things that we're still not fully grasping just quite yet. I feel it's still it's still early. It's still only episode 4, and we're just still kind of getting introduced to stuff. We finally find out more about Kanade herself in this episode, because she's kind of been more of a mystery this series. Like we've known about her sacrifice and Tsubasa's reaction to it and everything, but we haven't actually known a lot about Kanade herself. So in this, we find out that she's the survivor of a noise attack, that everyone she knew and loved died. She was an orphan. She was alone, basically the equivalent of a war orphan. And if you've watched my Centaur World reactions, you know that shit genuinely gets to me. That shit makes me really fucking sad, to put it simply. But she was kind of recruited because of her resolve. She showed anger and vitriol towards the noise and wanted to do everything she could to kill them. So they recruited her and started doing these tests, which are seemingly how it normally goes with syncing you up to a Symphogear. But clearly not the case for Hibiki. She didn't have to go through all that. So they kept injecting her to test her affinity and everything. But eventually she's like, okay, no, this is going too slow, and just like injected even more into herself when she wasn't prepared for it. Did some notable damage to her body, but managed to unlock the affinity and unlocked her ability to use Gungnir. So we see she kind of crazy. She was kind of crazy, but we also see that she mellowed out. As she continued to work missions and everything with Tsubasa, we see that she started to understand the appeal of doing this to help people. Seeing how her actions affected others in a positive light. The very thing that Tsubasa is ignoring right now. The very thing that she's not getting. So I think that's very narratively fitting. But we see that she's kind of going through all of this and changing as a person because of it, which leads to why she would just be willing to sacrifice herself to save others during the concert, such as Hibiki. The only problem is what Tsubasa took away from all of this, and how she's responded to it is kind of going into the direction of where Kanade was when she first arrived. Though instead of just vengeful and angry, Tsubasa retreated into herself and chose to become a weapon. But that was what Kanade wanted at first. She wanted to be a weapon to get her revenge. She wanted to kill the noise by any means necessary. And that's what Tsubasa's goal is. But Tsubasa just is more depressed about it, while Kanade was more angry. But Tsubasa is stuck in that currently, while Kanade came out of her darkness. And I feel this is a very strong bit of evidence to the fact that Tsubasa will as well. Though that I feel like would be obvious anyway. Tsubasa is definitely going to come out of that darkness and start to realize why she should be doing this. And it's, I think, pretty clear that the force of just pure positivity and kindness that is Hibiki is going to be the one to draw that out of her. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be instantaneous, but yeah, I think that's pretty clear. But this was another good episode, and this episode didn't even have an opening or a regular ending. It gave basically all of its runtime for the actual content, which, considering what the content in this episode was, it actually came across as an extremely important one, which for being episode 4 is a really interesting and kind of just admittedly weird choice. Usually, like, it would be like the halfway point in a season where you get something like this. Episode 4 seems a little early for something this important, but at the same time, with 13 episodes, 12, 13 episodes for the season, maybe there's going to be a couple points like this where it just, like, instead of having like a mid-season finale in a way, they have just a couple, like, marks that they reach, like episode 4, and then like maybe episode 7 or something, 7 or 8 is going to do this, and then of course the finale. Like, instead of just doing like a mid-season finale and then the finale, they kind of have a set of marks that they go and reach each time. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong, and maybe this was just an exception here. Who knows? We'll find out as we continue. But I would love to hear your thoughts either way. Tell me what you thought of this episode of Symphogear down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.